The exhibition Just Water opens the program of the year 2019 of the entrance gallery, and the program focuses on a relationship of a Czech young art scene with foreign artists, and the show of Christl Mudrak is the first of this program. And now Christl Mudrak will introduce shortly the show and her recent work.
Hello, nice to see you all. I will show you 5 works and show you how these 5 works led me to this show. And I begin with a work from 2009. The first 2 works, House Vertigo and Black House White, are part of my PhD that I did in AWU in Prague, in the class of New Media, and there I met also the curator of the show. And the first 2 works are collaborative works, so this work here in the exhibition is as well. House Vertigo was kind of a workshop for 1 week. We worked with a lot of people, 42 people, and everybody was invited to paint spiral spaces. So the whole 6 surfaces of a space should be covered with a spiral. And this is a model that I made for getting this house that I wanted from the owners. I was interested for my PhD what these spiral spaces would do to us as a viewer. If we would perceive them, what would happen with us. And so I asked everybody who would go to this place, write a little report for me, tell me what happened to you, how it is before and after and between, and would you like to live in such a space? And during the years, I made a lot of spiral spaces, maybe 20 different versions of it. I even worked myself in such a space. Then there is a next project that I did in ETH Zurich in the Department of Architecture. It's Black House White. Sorry, I didn't translate the title. And this was a little house on the campus which the gardener would live in, and it was empty. It should be turned down, but then there came a crisis and they couldn't go on with the building. So they had another 3 years for this building, and I got the possibility to work with 60 students in there, all architects. And what was interesting for me was, as I was a teacher for painting, how could we change that space to in a different version? So I invited all the students to bring a bottle of black paint, and all together we painted this, and this took a day, inside and outside, on windows, on glass, in the whole kitchen. After 1 day, the house already looked like this. And then, after the next semester, everybody was invited to come with a white bottle of paint, and we tried to have 120 liter of black and 120 liter of white. Of course, everybody found out we couldn't cover that black anymore, so it would be very painterly. Even here, I also asked all the people for doing a report. And then I invited everybody of the 60 students to move in and to change whatever they wanted to change. But every day write a report about what to change and why. So people came, some just came 1 or 2 nights, the others slept the whole summer over. And this is a typical evening in the kitchen. That's the next work, the studio canvas. I was always so fascinated by the traces in the studio, so I decided to, in the future, I wanted to conserve all these traces. Maybe the traces were even more interesting than the paintings that I did on canvases. So I had a little space. Actually, this was a space with 2 spaces. Before I had the spiral space in this studio. I worked some years in, and now I wanted to collect the traces. This is the neighbor space where I made a little window through, so I could always go forth and back. And then I covered my whole studio with a canvas. I bought very, very long zippers, 7-meter long zippers, and put every wall together, so it's a kind of movable second studio skin. And I wanted to have this one-to-one traces. The other side with the window, it's an old GDR building. Here you can see that has to be grounded and primed before. Here you can see the zippers. Sometimes I take one zipper off and I take one canvas and bring it to an exhibition, and they show one side, or some already showed the whole space. In Kunsthalle Baden-Baden. So I work in this, and I do actually paint like a double painting, an active and a passive work. And this is very in the beginning. Now it looks totally different, full with things and full with traces. That's a work that is very close together with this work, because this work is developed from that work, which is called Drop Space. And I just decided for a wall exhibition that I would just leave drops, and that would be maybe the easiest way to do a painting. Just leave a drop and repeat that, to leave drops falling down. And it's actually a primed black PVC and linoleum wall and floor, and this is just covered with lots of drops, which I also showed in a bigger version in Avu for the PhD presentation. Look here how it looks. It's maybe interesting how this Rauschen, maybe it's murmuring. Yeah, the distortion. Yeah, and the lightness in the space. And if you come close, it looks a little bit like this. A little bit like this typical camera. If you have this screen and nothing works. So some exhibition visitors in the opening, they made photographs themselves, because these works very often function very good as a background. You always ask yourself what happens in there. Yeah. And now this is a newer work, which I also will do next week in Düsseldorf again. It's a drive painting. I just open the window, put some color out, and then I'm going. And go on. This was for 48 hours in New Köln, which is a festival, an art festival, always in summer. And they wanted to do something in a parkway, and I said, listen, when I want to paint here, I want to paint exactly how the other cars go around. I just want to use a little bit color in additionally. I also left the car like this in the exhibition space. You can see it's a very old Volkswagen, and actually I just took the prime colors, and so it would function like a print. I would have all the colors from green, also mixed with this different printing methods of my car wheels. And then after a while I put these into another space on the wall to see them. And the next week I will do canvases on the floor and drive over them to have these prints on the canvas. And this work here, what we have here, this is made out of 8 different waters that we found in Prague, from rivers to tap water to this water from this fountain. And we repeat it again and again with little drops, always on the same spot, that we can after a while see the color of the water and the differences. If you have the water from the snow from this date to the snow from the other date, it's so different. You can just observe it yourself. So the water, the snow water from the 12th of January, which we collected first when we visited this space, is so dark and grayish, and the other one is nearly clear from the 3rd of February when we installed, because we had twice strong fall of snow. I began with this drop works with only water in Venice when I had for the Venice Biennale a residency. And I thought, wow, everybody talks about the bad quality of the lagoon water. I will just test it as my painting fluid and find out what I can visibly see. Of course, it can be totally poisoning and visibly totally beautiful, or even clean, cleaner than clean. You never know. I mean, of course, after a while doing this with this lagoon water, it got dirtier and dirtier because people, it's an environmental issue because people use this water as not only as a canal to drive around, also to get rid of the old water from washing machine, from showering, from everything, from toilet water. Everything goes into there. So you maybe don't know exactly what your material is. If you buy a bottle of paint, you know exactly the result because you used it before and before and again, and it has a kind of norm how it will always turn out, and has a DIN number of the color range. And you can never know what happens. Especially here, we had all these bottles here, and the light that came in through that glass windows changed the water as well. It didn't stay as it is. I think water cannot stay as it is before for long. The best, how to say, stable water was the tap water here from the gallery. Visually, it didn't change. Maybe it did, but I couldn't see it.
And have you been thinking about environmental issues as well for this?
Actually, a lot, because I have a strong poisoning by cadmium and other heavy metals in my body. So the doctor said to me, I should reduce that and work differently. And when I'm at home, I should never use colors. And if I want to put a canvas in my space, it should be dried 3 years because it gases out 3 years around acrylic paint. So at home now, I work with natural materials only. So like water, beetroot, coffee, these are my colors now at home. Only to be on the safe side because it's never easy because you want to work in a long distance with color. It's my my work material, so I cannot reduce that, but I have to find another way to work with that.
Is there any plan for future that will develop this project, or you feel it's closed now?
For me, I mean, the biggest collection of waters that I have now is from Prague water, because here I did the first time as a show. Before I did it in my studio, but I wanted to make collections of water, like a library of water. Not a huge one, just a bottle from everywhere. I ask normally everybody who goes on holiday, please bring a bottle of water from where you have stayed, or if you are at a river or at a seaside, please bring some water, just one bottle.
So you are bringing the bottles with you back home?
The bottles go with me home, yeah, and I will go on with doing that. Yeah, it's always wonderful to go in the morning, 30 minutes, just do a little painting before you go into your studio or on the computer or wherever.